Okay, today I'm working on a layering technique. Kind of get the idea of, I've done some similar, kind of a 50s style-ish. And I'm doing it in 3 layers. I'm trying to get almost like a bark cloth look. So I don't want the layers to be solid, so I'll show you what I'm doing. But it's 3 layers. First I'm going to use this for the bottom layer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use carbon black. And I'm going to roll that out with my small roller. These rollers really need cleaning. I was working all day with them, doing different things, but basically, I think I'll just stick it on the pad. See, I'm rolling it up on my 5x7, and I just want a hint of this stamp. I'm not wanting it real solid. So I'm just placing it down on where I just rolled it out. We'll see what we get. Like I said, I want kind of a bark cloth look to it. Now let's do some rolling right onto the surface here. Wish I had somewhere I have a huge roll or a very long one. I wish I knew where it was. So that would be the best thing to use on such a big stamp like this. While I'm chatting away, this thing is drying. Putting my hand under it, trying to keep it flat. Like I said, I'm just doing an area of it. I'm not doing the whole thing. Just gotta make sure I do a big enough area to cover. That should still be wet enough to make a, like I said, I want kind of like a bark cloth. And if you've ever seen bark cloth, you'll know what I mean. It's not a flat image. It has some texture to it. Kind of what I'm trying for. That's pretty good. I don't like this over here, so I'm going to go in there and clean that off. There's a few things I'm going to clean off. Now I'm letting this dry. Just taking my finger and pulling off some of this that I don't like. But this I like. I didn't want it dark and solid. I wanted more like it's done on, like it was stamped on cloth is what I'm looking for. And I'm just taking a baby wipe and just wiping up these little, and I don't mind a little bit of smudge because I do want some little grunge to it, but I don't want these odd things here. Alright, I kind of like that. I do kind of like that. Now I'm blowing on it to make sure it's dry. And I will do the old from way distance, warm it up a little. Now aim it at my hand, and if it feels just basically warm to my hand, then I can put it on my plate. And I make sure I never go any lower than that, where it's warm to my hand but not uncomfortable. Now you can just let it dry. That's what I was doing earlier when I was doing the one I showed you. I have some eBay stuff out here, and I was rearranging my eBay stuff and organizing it a little. I would do one layer and then organize and then another layer. All right, that should be good. Now, what I'm going to do next is I have stencils, or masks, if you would. So I wanted, on that one I did the, all right, so now I want the yellow next. Now with these are cut from parchment paper. So they're a little flimsy. So you start in the middle and make sure you get it all flattened out, but be careful. Don't rub down hard. You don't want to pull that black or whatever your first layer was up. Now I'm just going to go over this with yellow. And I'm just going to put some dots on the paper here. I don't know how much of this I have left. This is yellow ochre, but it's Amsterdam. I don't have much left of these little tubes. Let's use this. This hasn't been cleaned up from the last one. Like I said, I don't want it even and flat color. I want more of a texture to it. That looks pretty good. None of the black's coming up. A little bit of the black came up, but not much. Now we're going to let that dry. Now on this other one I did, it was too dark because I used pen first, and pen will come out nice, but see right there is what I'm looking for. This is what gives me the bark cloth texture, and it didn't work because, and then I tried it with a different pen and the pen was too light, so on the second layer it was terrible. So you got to get your balance, and this is kind of, I think, what I want. Now that should be dry. And this was the third layer, which is those wavy lines. As you can see, these things have been used, I think I used them all like 3 times. So they're very fragile. Now if I was gonna, once I decide what I'm gonna do and work on a final project, I'll probably make these out of something a little more sturdy. But right now, I'm fine with it as it is. I have to kind of pull them down flat. As flat as I can get it. Yeah, this one is rather fragile. And you're not pushing down hard because, like I said, you don't want it to pull up the whatever was underneath it. Now I'm going to use this one I don't like to get the yellow off of this. Okay, now I'm using an aqua, I think it's aqua green from Artist Loft. And I'm using the Artist Loft paints in that because I'm not worrying about it drying too quickly. I actually want it to dry. Yeah. Now that's something you don't want to do. Is it fixable? We'll see. I don't think I've ever done that before. I'll get it to lay back down. All right, let's see if we can fix that. Now I may have to just do another one. As you can see, I don't want it dark. I don't want it, and I'm just trying to get rid of any lines, but I do want texture to show. And I could actually put a stencil over the top if I wanted a lot of texture. That's not quite what I'm into. All right, that looks pretty good. That's what I want. Now we're going to let that sit for a bit. I will dry it. Like I said, this is the Liquitex and the Amsterdam. It dries a little faster than what I'm going to use for a top coat. I'm like way up above this. I'm like 18 inches, 12 to 18 inches above the plate. But it looks like I'm closer, but I'm zoomed down with the camera. That's why it looks closer. But I am way up there. Because you do not want to heat your gel plate. You just, warm is okay, because it sits out here in the garage lots of times when it's, well, in the summer, it's 100 plus degrees sometimes when it's sitting out here. All right, so I'm going to use some Titan Buff to go over the top of it and pull the whole thing up. That's when we're really going to let it sit. I'm going to leave it and come back to it. Now you just want a coat, but a light coat. When you're pulling these layers up, you do not want it thick. There we go. You want a thin coat, but you want a moist coat. Have your paper ready, which I didn't, but have it ready. And get that paper down there while it's still wet. It's very important to press it down hard while it's still wet. It's the only way you're going to pull all 3 layers. Thin layer on that top coat, but make sure it's everywhere. Make sure there's no dry spots. Make sure it's wet. Make sure that 2 layers underneath, or however many layers you've got. I don't think I go more than 4 layers usually, but I don't know what my limit is. I'll have to try. Someday maybe we'll sit here and test the limit of how many layers can you actually pull up. All right, now I know that that's pressed down really hard. I am going to dry this. And I know people are probably screaming, but I do take care of my gel plates. I've had some for, well, since they started selling them. I actually started making gel plates when there was no such thing as a permanent gel plate recipe. I started making them when they were the temporary ones you could keep in the fridge for a couple days. So that's how long I've been doing this. I don't know when that was, what year. But I remember seeing the gel plate recipe. I don't even think it was on YouTube. I think it was in somebody's blog. And I made a gel plate. Well, I made several gel plates because they didn't last that long back then. And then I made my own homemade gel plates when those recipes started to come out. And I still have those, and on occasion I do bring them out and use them. And then I actually, most of them are clumped up in a baggie, sitting in the house, ready to be reheated into plates. Because I cut them into different shapes. That's what I usually use them for. Now I'm just pulling up a slight corner to see if it's dry, and it's dry. If it's going to be wet, it's going to be in the middle. So, make sure it's warm everywhere, warm to the touch. There we go. All right, now before I pull it up, I separate the edges because that's where it's going to stick if it's going to stick. And I think there are still some places that could use drying. Yep, on the edges are still a little bit wet. After you've done it a while, you can feel when it's wet. Most of the time when I do this, I just leave it and go in the house, or I will get up and start organizing stuff out here. Looks like I need to do some more layering because I got a ton of stuff that needs organizing out here. I'm starting to feel like I need to toss out 50% everything I own sometimes. All right, now we're going to pull it up. Hopefully it'll all come up this time. There's always going to be one or two pieces that don't want to leave the plate. I'm not terribly worried about that. Okay. Let's see if we get what we want. I'm going to try and pull it back and, oops, one move. It's only sticking in places. Ah, there's a big stick right there. There's a couple places where it's stuck, you can see on here. But this is what I've got, 3 layers. It does have that bar cloth look that I'm looking for. Come down a little bit more with, get this in the middle here. Can you see what I'm talking about? It does have that kind of, this kind of texture here, the bark cloth. Now I'm going to try another one. This time I will make the stamp a little darker, do some different colors, but this is what I'm aiming at. This is, as you can see, you can get 3 layers pulled up. Now if I had left this and come out the next day, none of this would have pulled up here. It would have been all like that. So I probably will, the next one I'll probably leave overnight. But as you can see, there's 3 layers right there. Kind of a 50s style look to it. And I'm going to do another one. Probably some different colors, and we'll see what happens. And I'll be back with the next one.